Marvel Studios exec calls the X-Men name outdated. I think this mentality is outdated. I remember hearing this in the 90s when they were talking about manhole covers, wanting to change them to personhole covers. Even though we all knew that it meant human or instead of mailman, they've changed it to letter carrier or mail carrier, which, is fine. It's fine because, that notion that only men do certain jobs is outdated. The X-Men always had women, though. Comic book fans are dumb. Hello, everyone. I am Mecha Random 42, your favorite YouTube harpy. Wow, I can't talk today. Huge advocate of equality. Actual equality before tokenism, before changing a bunch of stuff just to fill today's standards, which are actually even outdated by today's standards. and this is why you guys are here. This is why you come to me, because I remember this stuff in the 90s, and I remember how we just said, you know what, it doesn't matter. Comic book fans are not dumb people. You guys know these books way more than I do. I come in with the movies. I come in like kind of barely remembering the cartoon a little bit. X-Men always had great female characters, right? As far back as I can remember, X-Men and comic books in general always had amazing female characters. Always. So the fact that you're now telling me that the XMen name is outdated, it's a brand. It's a brand. It's not to exclude the female. Who are the first people? When I close my eyes, the first person I think of in the X-Men is Halle Berry. Just because I like her, I'm a fan. She's the first person I think of, and she's amazing, right? And I don't separate her into, okay, she's African American, she's this, she's that. I just think of, okay, she's kind of like the first one because she's kind of the most famous, and all of my joking renaming of all the X-Men aside, there was always strong, amazing women in these comics and the cartoons, and the fact that the execs don't understand and think so little of the comic book fans. It really feels like they think so little of the comic book fans that they don't understand that we're kind of that we understand it's a branding. It is not an insult to women. It would be like changing McDonald's at this point. You can't just change the X-Men name just for what? It's a brand. It's an icon. It is something. I'm trying to form my words really carefully here without getting demonetized or flagged. It is something that at the end of the day, your core audience are going to appreciate staying true to your characters, your brand, just make really strong, amazing characters. And that's what we care about. We are more than our gender. We're more than our skin color. This is a comic book series about mutants with superpowers. All right, I think it's fantasy. It's fun, and nobody thinks that this is an outdated name. This is such an outdated article, though, because like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the 90s, the mid 90s is when this stuff would have been a real issue. It would have been, this is when, I remember in high school, one of my teachers, she brought in Snow White and the 7 Vertically Challenged Men. The politically correct version of Snow White. As a joke, because, we're like, yeah, okay, we can learn a little something from our verbiage. To change it at this point, though, just seems cowardly, almost. It would seem... And I don't believe she's promoting changing this. Let me read the article here. There's a couple articles we're going to get into. This is why I'm assuming she's changing it, because there's another one coming up. Is the X-Men name outdated? Marvel Studios Exec Vice President of Production Victoria Alonso thinks so. Oh, Victoria. Comic book fans are not dumb people. They get it. They don't feel insulted. They don't, maybe some of the newer ones might, because some of the newer ones coming out might not have the life experience to just let some of this stuff go. It's not the end of the world if you call the X-Men and you have, probably just as many women as men, right? I'm trying to rattle off all of them in my head, and I'm pretty sure you got about just as many, if not more, women than men, right? Right? During an interview about Captain Marvel's home video release, Alonso asked about the future of X-Men at Disney and goes into an interesting tangent. I don't know where the future is going, Alonso told Nuke the Fridge. It's funny that people call it the X-Men. There's a lot of female superheroes in that X-Men group. I think it's outdated. It's funny that people call it the X-Men. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but people don't just call it that. That's what it says on the book, right? They call it that because it was written that way. Because the time it was written in, the branding that it was written by and under, that's a catchy title. That is a very catchy title. Alonso's worked on a producer on all of Marvel Studios films, originally handling visual effects, but has now grown to oversee the complete production of each film. I don't know where it's going to go. They just now have joined, she continued. They have a movie coming out soon under that banner, their last film. We'll see what time will tell. Oh, that movie looks like it's going to do very, very poorly. Also, thank you for subscribing. Oh, yay, my pop-ups are sort of working today. They weren't working yesterday, I apologize. If she thinks this is outdated, you know, should we listen to see what she says? We'll see what she has to say here. Holy crap. One of my biggest problems with this, though, is like people we know.
How are you? Thanks for having us here.
Hello.
Now, I had a chance.
4 minutes. What did she say?
Where it's a privilege to make these films.
That is awesome. And
But this is the first female-directed film.
Blah blah blah. First female-directed.
Superhero. Nothing. There's no other difference. It's a superhero story.
Yeah, awesome.
It'd be pretty phenomenal.
So you guys have a lot of toys to play with now in the future, including the X-Men, right?
Yes.
Could you, of course you can't tell me much, but can you give me a little hint of what the future is coming? Where is the future going, and the excitement?
I don't know where the future is going. It's funny that people call it the X-Men. There's a lot of female.
You're just now
in that X-Men group, so I think
you're just now learning.
I don't know where it's gonna go. We'll see. They just now have joined. They actually have a movie coming out very soon, which is.
So yeah, it's funny that they call it the X-Men. She didn't actually say it's outdated. She just said it's funny that people call it the X-Men. Oh yeah, she does say it's outdated. I think it's outdated. All right. Is she a diversity hire? I have to question that. I have to question if she's just now learning that there's a lot of women in the X-Men franchise. She has credits under, but those were all under Fox. She's worked on how many MCU movies? Did they say here? What, like all of them, she says? All of Marvel Studios films. You're just now learning that the X-Men has a lot of women. Okay. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith for people who are like, hey, it's funny that they have they say the X-Men. There's a lot of women. It's outdated. Learn some American history, sweetie. Learn some American history, especially recent history, you know, probably since you've been here. You know, you probably, I wonder when she got here, because if she learned some American history, she would know that we've kind of gone through this. We've been through especially the much recent history with the 90s PC culture, and we decided that, yeah, we need to kind of lighten up, and that freedom of speech is a huge ally, and that sometimes everything's not political. This is just superheroes. This is just comic books. These are people who wear underwear on the outside of their costumes and fight bad guys and have superpowers and are mutants. Your readers are not, and your viewers are a lot. And I'm going to generalize here. There's a lot of men, probably from like the 35 to 50-year-old demographic, who really love this stuff. People, you know, around my age. I'm 40. I'm old. Who watched this on Fox. Was it on Fox? I think it was on Fox. God, now I can't remember, because I remember like Animaniacs and Batman were on WB. What was the X-Men on? I think it was on Fox. I don't remember. you're gonna have a lot of people my age who grew up with this stuff and actually grew up in a time where women were CEOs and executives and wealthy and powerful and working mothers. The generation of women actually taking charge, doing things, and we were getting there. We got there for a minute where everything was like nice and equal, and now all of a sudden we're like, male bash. So, but you know what? It's okay if you're one of these. If you, oh, they're pandering to this lowest common denominator fan who, like I said, I think the Marvel comic book fans are smarter than Marvel thinks you guys are. Same thing with DC, same thing with Star Trek, same thing. I think that fans are a lot smarter than the studios are giving people credit for. Marvel Studios promises more diversity and inclusivity in Phase 4 and beyond. And there's nothing wrong with diversity or inclusivity. If you're not changing existing characters from, 50 years ago to fit today's standards, if you're taking the new diverse characters that are designed, like somebody said, hey, I am this person of this background and this nationality or this sexual orientation or whatever, I am so passionate, I am writing a comic book character to represent me and what I go through in my life, and you make a movie of that, yes, please, 1000% do that. Please do that. Don't try and hold people to a standard or characters or anything to a standard that doesn't apply for the time it existed in. And I see that so much. Marvel Studios, EVP of production, Victoria Alonso, same woman, says Disney-owned studios is actively working towards a more diverse and inclusive Marvel Cinematic Universe. Is that a good or a bad thing? Well, we don't know, because diversity is always a great thing. But my message to you guys before I read this next thing, with equality, when we start treating everybody like equals, we start treating everybody with a certain amount of respect, a certain amount of, you are smart enough to get this. I'm not going to dumb this down for you. If you have questions, I will gladly answer. But, we need to kind of keep holding people to a standard of respect and intelligence and not treat people like the way studios have been treating us, like we're this dumb little customer that they're just going to condition and they'll buy anything. Like McDonald's did in the 80s, where they're like, hey, we'll just market it towards kids. We'll hook them for life. That really feels like what they're doing now. And that's why so much of this stuff is so subpar, because it's so dumbed down. I think a lot of it. I feel honored to have a member of the LGBTQ plus group represented in our films. I hope, well, we already have that. We already had that in Endgame. We had a member of the LGBTQ community talking about his husband. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing. I don't need that sort of representation in my, I don't need to see me in the movie, basically is what I'm telling you. Because you're never going to get me 100% perfect. The best thing you can do for me as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, now listen to me here, is give me a character, whether it's a man or a woman, that I can say, yes, I want to be like that character, or, oh, I'm a lot like that character, and look how much they've grown, and I can do that too. Give me something like that. Give me a character that is so awesome and amazing. We'll identify with it, regardless of what we look like on the outside, because the outside's superficial. The outside is, and I can't believe I have to say this in this day and age, I can't believe people don't know this, the outside is nothing. The outside is the shell, right? It's what you're like on the inside. It's your core. Are you a good person? Do you help people when they need it? Do you go out of your way to destroy people's lives? Do you go out of your way to tell people how horrible they are all the time? Or do you try and give something uplifting? Do you try and give a message of actual equality? And I would rather hear messages of actual equality, regardless of what you look like, or what your sexual orientation is, or what gender you are, rather than that being the focus. Right? Because who I'm in bed with, it's such a tiny little percentage of my life, or day even, or, year. It's such a tiny little percentage. The outside is such a tiny little percentage, and yes, it's a branding. You know, the bright red hair is a brand. It is. I get it. It's a trademark. It's a recognizable thing. It's not me though. It's not everything that I am, and I get so offended and upset when that's all we're reduced to is just this. You know, we're only the product of. We're only as good as what we look like on the outside and who we sleep with. We're only as good as the color of our skin. And that message is so outdated to me. That message is more outdated than XMen or whatever. But yes, and you know, yeah, fine. I'm fine with having LGBT members as long as they're supposed to be. As long as they're supposed to be, you know. Don't take somebody who's like, oh yeah, like we'll take Hawkeye for example or something. Somebody who has like wife and a kid and kids, and then all of a sudden, oh, now we're going to turn him into a black gay character. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because we see through your stuff. We see through your stuff. Same thing, you know, we don't want War Machine being swapped out for a white guy right now or any of that stuff. We don't want the swapping. Nobody would want Black Panther being played by, you know, Keanu Reeves, even though I would kind of like that. I've made a point. How many times have I said, you know, T'Challa? Oh no, we actually need somebody from Africa to play T'Challa. How about Ninja from The Antwoord? Why not? Why not? Somebody from Africa. It's South Africa, but why not? You know, why not Charlize Theron? She's from Africa too. Put her in the role of Black Panther, right? Since we're kind of at that point where they're only letting gay actors play gay characters. Like, what about acting? What about acting? What happened to acting? So yes, equality good. Tokenism bad. I always like to say that. Oh, what else is in this article? What else is in this article here? In a separate comment, Alonso also added, I can tell you we're actively working to make our universe as diverse and inclusive as we can. Be patient with us. We will have a lot coming in the future. MCU-inspired ABC television shows Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. introduced Inhuman Joey Gutierrez, a gay man, and the movie side of the franchise featured his first openly gay character in the Avengers Endgame, portrayed by director Joe Russo in a cameo appearance. Marvel's Runaways highlights the lesbian romance between Nico and Carolina. That's fat material. That is fat material only, in my opinion. And I know the books were like that. That's one thing. I did see the first season of Runaways. I need to watch the second season. From my understanding, the books were always like that. The books were always this diverse, you know, you had this one and this one and this one. The books were always created that way. The book's characters were always created to be a same-sex couple. And that's fine. And that's fine. And it's not that good. It's all right. It's all right. But you're making the new characters, right? That's from my understanding. And I do need... Did you guys want me to talk about Runaways? Because I actually saw it. Franchise will also feature his first trans actor in Spider-Man Far From Home. Why does that matter? Why does that matter? Right? The guy in The Crying Game actually wasn't, you know, acting. Next, the super strong Hercules, who in Marvel Comics has been presented as bisexual, is rumored to be leading characters in the Eternals. Okay, so Hercules in the comics has been presented as bisexual. Is it something that they changed? I don't know that much about that one. I probably should look more into this. Oh, Lord. Alonso in November said the studio's goal was to represent every community in its films. All right. How about representing, how about this? How about representing the Babylon 5 fans in your films? That's a community. How about representing the Star Trek fans in your films and making them a little more, I don't know, pay a little more attention to science and not make them the science fantasy that they are. No, you're not going to do that because that would go against the franchises. That would go against the Marvel universe, like the world that they created, right? They have their setup, you know, they have their the space battles, they have the way people travel throughout space, which I don't even think they mention that much. I think they can just kind of like fly anywhere at any speed, right? That type of stuff isn't really calculated. They don't do the math to figure out, okay, warp 5 is this speed, this how many times the speed of light is, blah. You know, they don't do that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think you guys would probably be pissed off if they stopped and gave you a really intellectual, science-y, math-heavy episode like calculating warp speed in Star Trek, or, you know, Darmok from Star Trek, you know, something where people communicate by using hey, Shaka, when the walls fell, right? By using metaphoric speech, they would never do that because you would piss off your core audience. Keep that in mind. Don't piss off your core audience. Also, Alonso in November said the studio's goals was to represent every community's film within the scopes of Black Panther, the first Marvel Studios production with a black lead and a predominantly black cast. Yes, but you didn't use actual African actors in the role. Where's the actual African representation? Why was Charlize Theron not cast as T'Challa? Seriously. Oh, is she too white? Is that the problem? Because that's kind of where we're getting at here with a lot of these. You don't get to have this kind of success if the entire world doesn't see your product, so we were determined to have every one of those people represented in our films in some way at some point in time. You're putting people into a box of, oh, okay, all gay people are this, all straight people are this. That is something a dumb person does to sound smart. You need smart people making these movies for smart people. But no, that's the problem. They've got... You're never going to have 100% representation because everybody is different. Not every bisexual woman looks like me or acts like me. All right? Not every gay man acts like Charles Nelson Riley. I guarantee it, right? Not every African American person acts like I don't know, Denzel Washington. They're not all the same. They're not all the same. People aren't all the same based on whatever little box you put them in. So just keep that in mind and please make them more than just who they sleep with, what color their skin is, because that's actually way more outdated than anything else. Oh, now we only make only two or three movies a year, so it's difficult to have every single one. But it's definitely one of the things we have in mind all the time. Alonso said she hopes to realize more representation for the Latin and Asian moviegoers as well as the LGBT plus communities. Or LGBTQ plus community. It's a mouthful, I'm sorry. Latin and Asian moviegoers. Okay, well, we do have a huge amount of people in China that do buy a lot of movie tickets. Their taste is a little different than ours because their culture is a little different. So keep that in mind. Same thing with Latin countries, and you're gonna have to do your research. You're gonna have to figure out if you're making a movie for a Latin demographic. But here's the thing, though. Marvel does this thing where they make the movies for everybody. Like a Captain Marvel or an Avengers, let's take Avengers for example. An Avengers movie is for everybody. It is not just for 35-year-old white male comic book fans. They're making these movies for everyone. And that's why I kind of come in and weigh in my opinions on these, because I am the Star Trek geek that watches the big popcorn movies, right? I'm the one who keeps up with the celebrity gossip and the, because I'm a girl and that's one of the things we do, I also really love Food Network shows and Chopped and cooking competitions and MasterChef and Hell's Kitchen and stuff like that. And I hear Marvel's putting a lot of the cooking stuff in their stuff instead of just, leaving that to the Food Network. You really have to not just pander. You really can't pander. You really can't. And that's kind of my most important message. And I'm doing this. I want to do this video as a part of Pride Month because it's such an important message, right? Diversity and inclusion is great as long as you remember people are more than just what's on the outside. People are more than just the color of their skin, who they sleep with. And when the studios kind of forget that, it really hurts the product. And then they start insulting fans for saying, hey, your movie wasn't very good. And they're like, oh, you're just a racist. You're just a sexist. You're just a homophobe. No, you guys are kind of exactly what you're calling us. You're only seeing the color of somebody's skin. You're only seeing their gender. You're only seeing who they sleep with. And I'm insulted as a fan. So thank you guys so much for watching. This is a super long video. I'll see if I can cut this down. I will see you guys on the next video, live stream on Midnight's Edge After Dark, in Star Trek Las Vegas, or a creepy little book. I am Mecha Random 42, P.O. Box 1566, Loveland, Colorado 80539. As always, I will see you guys later. Bye! Thanks for watching. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye!